Education, Tuesday, March 29th, 2016. Special meeting, and it is 6:04. Roll call, please.
Bargo,
Here.
Sisewich. Here. Gunkelman. Here. Mattson. Stoll.
Here.
And
Joyce.
Joyce is pledge allegiance.
Sorry.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting agenda statement. Meeting is for the Board of Education, public for purpose of conducting the school district's business, is not be considered a public community meeting. There's time of public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Recommendation statement. The following are recommendations that have been identified for approval as part of the consent agenda for this meeting. Board member wishes to remove any items from this agenda. For further discussion prior to taking action, please let either the superintendent or myself know. Anyone? Approval of the consent agenda. Resolved that the Buckeye Board of Education approve the consent agenda March 29, 2016 as presented. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Sisewich.
Yes.
Stoll.
Yes.
Gunkelman.
Yes.
Bargo.
Yes. Public participation. No public participation tonight. No. Okay. Superintendent recommendation.
Well, I just have the one item. We know that the, under old business, we won't do anything with that today. But the one item I would like to bring to you, and the reason I bring it today is a little time sensitive. Registration gateway is something we've actually, quite frankly, been looking at and considering for a couple of years. We have investigated several different programs, worked with NeoNet to assure that they have compatibility. They have also done some research with regards to these programs, because many districts within NeoNet are moving in this direction. If they haven't already, they're certainly moving in this direction. Registration Gateway is a program that will allow us to basically provide a family portal to every one of our families, and basically anything that we provide to our families has the ability to be provided to them through this program. The dreaded emergency medical forms that everybody fills out every single year, and takes our secretaries months to file, and that's an example of something that would be provided to our families. Once they have the program, they complete it once, and then in subsequent years they would be sent an email letting them know that it's time to update their information. If nothing changes, they would hit submit, the information would come back to us, and we would then have an electronic file for all of our families. So I think it's going to be very, very well received by our families. I think it's probably long overdue. With your approval tonight, we can get the process started to get this set up and get ready to use it for the new school year. How much? Initial year is $23,000, and then it's about $9,000 in subsequent years after that for the maintenance of the program.
What are we going to do with all the secretaries that now have months of free time?
if they have months of free time, then I'll bring a recommendation to you to RIF them. No.
And the one thing that
Just kidding.
The one thing that is so exciting to me is it talks to Dazzle, and Dazzle talks to it. Progress Book talks to it. I mean, all of our computer programs will now, instead of yes, I mean, TransFinder talks to Dazzle. Our food service program talks to Dazzle. So all of our programs will actually play nice in the same box.
So for the kindergartners, which I'm assuming they already registered, are we behind the gun with that, or we'll catch up with that?
Yes. Once we start the setup, everything that's currently in Dazzle will be dumped into the program, so everything will already be there. Then after that, it's a matter of our families. Probably at some point they would get an email saying this is based on what they have in Dazzle. And that'll be a challenge, making sure all the emails are correct. But I think they are, because we've been sending some emails to our families. But Once that's in, then they'll get an email telling them to go in and check their information to make sure that it's correct. They can check it, they submit it, and then they verified it, and then it's done. But it will be dumped from Dazzle into the program, and then it's already there for our families, so.
Okay, and what about, I know that Glenn said, a while ago, he said that he was gonna have some sort of a program like this for the athletes, so that the parents don't have to keep updating it. Is that the same system, is that gonna?
Right now, he has a separate program right now that at some point could be integrated with this, but it's a very much the same concept. That that's the nice thing is deadlines approach, and as things come due from our families, the program will send them reminders, send them emails saying this is coming up, you need to take care of this. So it certainly provides a lot of convenience, but at this point, those are separate systems, and initially probably would remain separate systems, but probably at some point in the future, I would anticipate them coming together.
And who's gonna be in charge of it? Is it gonna be one of our tech guys, or is it gonna be a secretary?
There's probably a couple different pieces of that. Initially, for the setup and that whole process, Christina Collins will take probably quite a bit of responsibility for that. Kim Mead, because of her being in charge of the registration process, will take part of that. And then Jim Kearns will take quite a bit of the back end, how all the technology and how that integrates and talks to each other, and how that's integrated with NeoNet. He'll take a lot of that technology responsibility. But I'm sure we'll all have a little bit of a piece of just making sure everything's correct and is being inputted properly.
When do we want to have it up and running?
Next year.
August 1st is our goal.
Yeah.
If we got this passed tonight.
That's one of the reasons why it's on tonight instead of waiting.
They're gonna start tomorrow. Now, the other interesting piece and the good thing is, I guess, and thanks to the good relationship we have with Brunswick, they are already currently using the system. So they've been through a lot of the trials, I guess, of the newness of the program. There is a piece called cloning. And right now they've given us permission to clone there so that we can then use what they use and then input our data into that, so we wouldn't be starting from scratch necessarily. So that'll be kind of nice for us to be able to start with some of the pieces already built to this. So that's going to give us a little bit of a jump. But we would literally probably will start tomorrow with them starting to build this.
And the login for parents for the student ID number is what they'll log in their email address, so. It was very amazing. Truly was.
Am I right, is it a 3-year contract?
Which student ID, Carol, will that be sent?
The progress book one, that's the one. Okay.
Well, I was impressed in reading the contract, that it's not a one-sided contract. You read that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nicely balanced in that they're taking responsibilities for things that, instead of just, so often you see contracts that are written to benefit the person who wrote it.
We've Brunswick being in particular, we've had conversations with several districts currently using it, and they're very, very happy with it. And that was part of the reason why we led to this program, because of the experience other school districts are having with it. Very impressed.
Well, we need a resolution to approve, because no one's given
And a motion.
motion. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve that recommendation to do the registration gateway?
I will make that motion.
Is there a second? Any other discussion? Roll call.
Copeland,
Yes.
Sisalik, Stahl,
Yes.
Parko.
Yes. New business. The levy discussion. And I think everybody knows that we have a need for a levy. And we wanted to have more discussion on that. And Carolyn's got lots of goodies for us.
Well, first of all, I was right, I was wrong. You can put it on the year before, but not in August. In March and in November. So we are good if you want to put it on in November. the ballot language will include renewal in the very beginning of it. It is a renewal of a changing the 10 years, from 5 years to 10 years does not make it new in any way. We can change that. Trying to think of what the other questions were that everybody has. You know, the auditor told me one thing, our county auditor told me one thing. And when I went to the attorney and said, you know, you're gonna write the ballot language and you're gonna write the 2 resolutions. And I said, am I correct that you can do the year before? And he said, yes, but only these 2 times.
The general primary and the general election. Right?
Correct. Correct.
Can't have it as special.
Correct. If we do it in a special, the year before it expires, which would be in 17 August, you have to pay 65% of the cost up front.
Which would be about,
Well, it's about $12,000 a precinct.
Hold on, so we pay 65% of that.
Yes.
Well, that's the upfront, but if there's nothing else on the ballot, then we end up paying
We
it all.
pay, yeah, we'll pay it all, because it's based on, sorry,
So when the ballot language is stated, you don't have the exact language yet?
I do.
Oh, you do?
I do. And I thought I brought it out here, but I didn't. So keep talking and I'll run and find it.
I guess my only concern is, you know, we want it to be a renewal of what we currently have. And then somewhere on there, it'll have to say what the duration is, right?
And I'll wait for Carolyn, she actually is running, so it's.
Well, don't run.
She did.
We don't want to work as comp claim.
With what Carolyn said of the Financial Advisory Committee, if I remember, the renewal was to keep the rollback for as long a period as possible. So that was, we'd have to be very specific in our communication, but that was really, we need the money, okay? But doing it this way will save you money for 10 years, as opposed to saving you money for 5 years. Because I think, was there a limit on how many times you could renew this?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The only,
So what's the deal with the rollback then?
The
Is it
rollback's-
supposed to go away or
It
something?
has went away, and because this would be a renewal, we could keep the rollback. But only if we changed any other thing, like if we went off an emergency to a regular, if we change, you know, because it's an emergency, it's not really millage, it's a dollar amount. Okay, so if we changed any wording in that, then the entire rollback would go away and it would cost the taxpayers more. Because there is no more rollback on any more levies,
I mean, new money.
any new money.
Now, the issue is not, right now, under current, as I understand current law, as long as renewals come up, they'll keep their roll. But we don't know what will happen in the next 5 years as far as that law and whether they say we aren't going to cover
The rollback.
renewals anymore.
So if we go to renew if we do a 5-year and
So
then go
it's
to
a-
renew it again, if there's a change in leadership, it could change exactly what the law is.
But we don't know whether it will or not.
we don't.
This
We
would
don't.
secure it for 10 years.
It's not a definite. And I'm sorry, Kim you chose. No, nobody else.
Oh, I was blanking. I mean, there's a lot of information. I actually put down the statute and then when we could actually go.
So where is the ballot language in this?
The
Is
very
it
top.
The very top?
Yes. Shall a levy be placed on, yes.
Of course, the lines will be full.
Yes.
Shall a levy be renewing an existing levy? Can't we just,
No, it's gotta be legalese.
can't we just say what it is.
Yes, I know. Say what you mean and mean what you say? No.
At least it's yes or no, it's not, you know, how they do the
Yeah.
other ones.
Yeah, so you'll vote yes or no.
You know, there's two things. Number one, in my literature that I gave you, I said that it would be 7.4. They're saying 7.5 because they will only certify 90%.
You're down to 90.
Yes, yeah. And I think as soon as it goes, I mean, when it goes on the ballot, it will be less. I mean, when it actually goes on the tabs, duplicate, but they'll recertify it, so.
Okay, commencing in 2017, first due in 2018. Explain that to me a little bit.
Tax collection will start in 18.
Okay. But our 10 years starts in 17?
You're a year behind in your taxes.
Okay.
So, yes,
All right.
you'll see it on your tax bill, January or February of 18, whenever we get it. But it's for tax year 17.
Gotcha.
And this could be renewed anytime in 17. And can go a little bit into 18, go back? No.
No.
It has to be by the end of 17.
It has to be by November of 17 is your last try.
So we're talking about putting it on November of 16, right?
And it won't start collecting until
18.
I guess the only advantage, you know, in going this year, you know, and the advantage of renewing it is the 10% homestead. It's really 12.5, but the county will only you know, when somebody calls in and asks what their increase will be, they only give 10% because the other 2.5 is only on 1 acre of land. So, and I don't know whether any of you, I mean, I have a couple, the difference, if we, currently, they're paying I did a $100,000 home, it's $248.85. If we renew, and I have it at 7.4, but the auditors are saying 7.5, but just for discussion purposes, keeping everything the same and getting that reduction, it'll go to $233.10. So it will go down because it'll be less millage to collect the same dollar amount. If we did a new emergency, you would lose, the residents would lose the homestead rollback, and so at the 7.9, it would be $276.50.
Okay, so where does this put us? Say we get this renewed.
You'd be good until,
By current projections.
by current projections, status quo, you'd be good through 2020. Based on current,
We'd still collect this levy for the 10 years, but because it's an emergency levy and it's a dollar amount we wouldn't run out of because of inflation, we would have to go, and this is what the financial committee talked a little bit about doing a very small millage and get into that cycle, so every 2 to 3 years pass another levy for a little additional, which would be kind of a cost of living millage levy, if we could ever get on that cycle, instead of going for the big bucks all at one time, which we would,
And the valuation is, I mean, your valuation is going back the other direction, which is a good thing. So,
That could all change.
well, I know, but nobody ever thought the valuation would go down, ever, and it did. So I guess what I'm saying is I believe before 2020, 1 mil is gonna be worth about $500,000.
Meaning if we drop below the 20 mil floor to 19, is that what you're?
No, I'm saying 1 mil.
Oh, I see.
And if we do drop below the 20 mil floor, which I also believe you will do before 2020, instead of having to go for 3 mils, I'm gonna use that, you might be able to go for 2 because there would be growth when you, on the bottom,
Yeah.
below the 20 mil.
So, all right, well, this all makes sense to me right now. And then I think, when we get to the point of how to explain it, I mean, it's a renewal, yes, but I think people will see a stadium, and there are some literature that has to go out or information that has to go out to explain everything.
All kinds of work.
And I mean, this renewal will cost them less,
Per $100,000.
per $100,000.
That
Now,
doesn't mean that their property didn't go up in value.
yes, but, but again, it going off completely would cost them less, but I'm saying it does go down.
And the other thing about going and looking at putting this on as soon as we can is because June, you have to be planning for the next year. And we're gonna be running into that planning process pretty quick on how you're gonna get beyond it. I know you still got another year sitting there, but
I
we're
agree.
running up against it. So, in order to have longer time to know where we're at.
I just wish it wasn't going on for the first time in a presidential election, but there's nothing to do about that.
Again, you don't have to. You don't have to put it on in November. We can wait until March. And you have 3 chances in 2017. It's good.
Yeah, with the financial advice, I mean, when it passed last time, we had 64% voter turnout. So the no votes, I believe, did not even change from the last election. But the yes votes did.
Right.
When we got all so I think the presidential will help us. What did we have in the primary? It was 46%. You think that, Carolyn, or no?
You know what? I don't know. Our community is changing. I think they're very positive in what's happening at Buckeye. I believe there's more,
I think you got a lot more younger votes that came out when we passed last time. And I don't think it really matters who's going to run. You're going to have a lot of younger voters because they're very passionate about whichever candidate is going to be up there. And that's, I think, who you need to engage to get this to pass is the younger voters. And the ones in our community. And that's how it passed last time because the no votes really didn't change. And that's, I think if we go in which we had seen before, if we go in smaller, whether it's August, March, or whatever, the younger voters aren't passionate, they won't come out to vote. Because, I mean, to be honest with you, we're not in dire straits. There's no cuts on the board. Okay, when we go up to March, I doubt we're gonna have a list of, this is what we're gonna eliminate. And that's why I think the presidential election will bring those younger voters out, and that's who passed our last levy. So.
As far as putting it on the ballot, does it matter if November any cheaper than,
oh yes, a lot cheaper.
how much, because of the presidential?
Yes, because there's more
They
people,
sell.
yes.
Okay.
They're gonna be working anyway.
Yeah, it's divided over however many issues are on the ballot.
I'll get our results quicker too. Get our results quicker.
Do we always pay anytime something's on the ballot?
Absolutely.
Okay.
When all of you were on the ballot,
Mm-hmm.
school district paid for it.
Okay.
Per person or?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. Every little X that's put on the screen is charged.
I would pay a little money too, somewhere. A little money.
Yeah.
So,
For the financial committee, did they do they wanna just keep, they don't wanna add anything on, they don't wanna add busing, they don't wanna add pay to play, anything like that, they wanna just keep,
Well,
Is
on
it
this they
renewal?
could, because it's a straight renewal.
okay, so it was just for the services we had.
Yeah, I believe, and Caroline, I don't have that with me, but I believe they want to discuss at the very near future, something to bring some of that stuff back. Because they would like to look at busing, they would like to look at pay to play, and all that stuff.
And that would have to take a new levy though, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it would be a totally different levy, you know, and again, it depends on, you know, we could get that stuff if we cut other costs, that's actually up to Brian, if Brian could go and say, here's a budget, and we want busing back, you know, make it happen,
Just,
and you
yeah,
have to make
take
cuts to
from
make
somewhere.
busing clean, you know. So, I mean.
And I think the other approach could be is that you stay status quo, you just absorb that into your budget, but you know that's gonna put you on the ballot sooner. Or, you know, I guess worst case scenario is you do that, you add it back, but then you get to the point to where the community won't support an additional levy, and you have to go back and say, that's the first thing we're gonna cut, you know, if we get to that point. Now, hopefully we would never get to that point, but that's the other. I think there is some risk to being that specific. Now, you get to that point where you're desperate and you have to be, but I think also when you lock yourself into, we're gonna bring back busing, we're gonna reduce pay to participate, and all of a sudden you have to do that.
Right.
I think perhaps what another approach could be is, we're gonna bring these things back, we're gonna have to come back to you to pay for these things, and it's not necessarily contingent upon passing some issue, but obviously, we still have to be able to pay our bills, and if we get to the point that we can't, then there's gonna be things that are gonna have to be cut. So I think that the reality is, at some point, we're gonna have to be back on the ballot, we know that. So the question then becomes is, do we consider bringing something back, or do we pass the issue and then say we're gonna bring these things back upon, not necessarily making it contingent upon that, but just knowing if we pass another issue, those are the things that will be potentially reinstated. So-
Yeah, I think, I don't have a problem with pay to play, I pay to play, and that's not the big issue. The kids that can't afford it, they're getting scholarships, somehow it's all working out, we've got a really good, family base that makes sure these kids play. I really think that pay to play, or that the busing is a huge issue with the parents that need it. And that's only the parents that have to work, you know, two parents are working, dropping the kids off isn't a big thing, but getting them home is a huge thing. I just heard yesterday, one of the parents was saying that one of our high schoolers stays till 8 o'clock at night at I don't know why, at the library, because the parents can't pick him up. And it just, myself, I never had a problem because of the shift I work, but I know a lot of people that have had to change their schedules and really make a lot of adjustments just to get kids to and from. And what I'd like to find out though is, what I said in the email, is if, especially with this new system we have with the busing, if we can find out what it might cost. Because it's not the juniors and seniors, I think they're 90% taken care of. I think there's very few that need anything like that. It's just really like the
freshmen.
The freshmen, exactly.
And I don't know why, it just came in the email to me the last couple of days. Her students sent out a calculator for how much each bus run would cost. I just threw some figures in it today to see. And what they're saying is each bus route cost about $60,000. When I did it for the Financial Advisory Committee, were you on it at that point? Were you on it at that point? We looked at it in two different ways, and again, I'm putting some figures in here for state reimbursement that I'm not sure of, because
we're not sure of the state.
yeah, and I'm not sure how they calculate the transportation reimbursement, but I did the best I could. And I was to do the 9th and 10th graders, it would cost approximately $153,000, and then to do the 11th and 12th graders on top of another 206. So with, and I'm going by what Roger was telling me, which, you know, Mr. Williams and I were talking about it, you know, we based it on 5 additional buses for 9th and 10th graders. Well, there's 427, and it's 65 kids on a bus. To me, that's 7 buses. Roger says he can do it with 5. To add the 11th and 12th graders, I'm saying there's 374 kids, and I'm saying 6 buses, and he's saying he can do it with an additional 2. I don't see how, but, and again, understand the law says we have to have a seat for each one of those children on that bus.
And you're talking about senior high kids, and I don't know if you can get 65 senior high kids on a bus.
Right, which is
Well,
why,
I think that's actually irrelevant, because most of them aren't gonna be riding it, which we know.
Yeah.
But we do have to, we can go to the maximum on the buses.
Yeah.
But I don't know how Roger's math's working out.
I used his with 7 buses. And again, I'm saying about $323,000 based on the state giving us 101. You know, I don't know if that's correct or not, but I know it's, I want to say the savings were about $400,000 to $500,000 when we cut the buses.
So $300,000 to bus every single student. And we cannot let them pick and choose. We have to,
Now, can we do half the building as
We can do
9th and
7, we can do, yes, you would be able to do 9th and 10th.
and that was 100 something, 130?
246. And again, I just,
What's he saying, how many buses does he say? And are 7 or 5 for the 9th and 10th?
correct.
5
Additional,
buses?
additional buses.
So he's talking about purchasing 5 additional buses?
No, no, no.
Okay, just the buses.
Using 5
Oh,
additional
5 different
buses,
routes.
because we already have 8 or 10 buses at the junior high. So you'll have 15 buses picking up 7 through 10.
Does he plan on bringing any more bus drivers on board?
No,
He
this
used
would
what we
be
currently
the
have.
these would be the
Should
elementary,
be elementaries.
doing the high school
What's
too.
the average wage in a bus driver?
About $18,
Okay,
plus all the benefits.
they're already getting their benefits,
No, they're not.
so,
No, they're not.
Because you get the extra hours.
The extra hours.
Bump into
Yep.
benefits then.
okay.
That's one of
That's
the
one of the
big
challenges,
challenges.
yeah.
Challenges.
So we're
So
also
instead of
thinking, though,
18, which is
I mean, there's a lot of siblings that, the younger kid gets on the bus and the older kids are standing there. So that's gotta be somewhat cost saving there.
That's why I think he's estimating that he has 8 buses going out of the junior high, and he would say only 5 more additional to pick up the high school, because
Okay.
those buses are already going, and those
Yeah, right
kids are moving it on with their siblings.
And part of the issue there is getting the bus back in time to make the elementary run, so they can't run the miles as much as filling the bus fully full.
Exactly, and that's what everybody has to understand. This is a 75 square mile district. So if we don't want the kids on the bus longer than an hour, then,
Well, we gotta get the bus back for the elementary.
And we've already changed it, like in developments, they're already meeting in one area, right? We're not going street to street, basically.
Yeah, we're much better than we used to be in that regard, yeah, we used to drop off almost house to house, so.
Right.
A lot of group stops now.
How much was the additional cost for the junior high?
for the high school, for
High school,
7th,
yeah. 9th and 10th.
323.
Okay.
You said 246.
No, that's for 2, on all high school.
Oh,
grades.
all high school.
Sorry, all high school. 246, and an additional 76, because he's saying only 2 additional buses for 11th and 12th graders.
It isn't part of this levy discussion as such. But I really am in favor of getting some firm numbers on that and finding exactly what
You're not
the
going
cost
to.
is.
You're not going
You're
to.
not going to?
You're not gonna have exact numbers, no.
Even with that new
Because-
program,
No.
guys? I mean,
No.
isn't that supposed to load up the buses for them?
Yes, it does, but, I mean, I can ask him again. That's where Judy is right now as we speak, so hopefully she'll come back and we can. Because has gone to training there, so hopefully we can.
One of the problems, I believe, is that our senior high students currently aren't loaded into that computer system. So they don't know where, that computer doesn't know where they are located at. So somebody would have to load all of those addresses in
Hopefully she's finding
that they can pull it over something.
from Dazzle.
Well, okay, so we clear our system already here?
We dump them, and we move them up.
That's probably something we shouldn't be doing. Why would we, I mean, if a kid rode the bus in junior high, I mean, you just take them off the route.
Yeah, they just move up a grade level.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not
So
getting
you're
rid of
talking
every route.
but you're talking about a software issue then, where if.
We're taking off a kid. We're not taking off a route. I'm taking off John Stahl, because he's now in ninth grade and he won't ride the bus.
So that's a software issue, which should be, that doesn't mean we take them and we purge them out of the system. That means they have a different number next to their name and the system won't recognize them as a rider, correct?
No. As soon as they're in ninth grade, they are purged
I
from
don't
the
know.
system.
I don't know how it works.
I don't either.
I don't
because
think
it's
that's
hot
a big
system.
issue.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not a huge district where you couldn't add those people
Well,
back
you could put
in.
them in one day. Yeah, they had entry. Not you personally, but you could.
Well, I think the system will pull from Dazzle, so when she
If it
gets
gets
back,
back,
we'll
yes.
do our
But to
best
have
get
an
very
exact
firm
number-
numbers and see if we can put them all in and have the computer do a simulation for us.
I think
Without
without
adding
adding
that.
that, I mean, yeah, you should be able to, because basically, however many buses you have times the average rate, including their
Which is
insurance.
what I was saying. When I did the
Okay.
figures and when I did the first student, it was $300,000.
Are
So,
we the only district in Medina County that doesn't bus our high school kids?
Might be.
Yeah, I think it should be a priority if we can make it work.
I mean, it's kind of bad for us because we're 75 square miles, so you've got kids coming from, you know, we're not Brunswick where kids can walk. There's like 5 kids that can walk, basically.
Even, I don't know, I don't think everyone.
I mean, we're not even
I don't- I don't know.
Black River
I don't know if Brunswick can really have kids walk either.
Oh, sure, they can walk to the neighborhood schools.
Yeah, you're talking about high school.
Well, that's true.
There's one school in Brunswick. So,
Yeah.
Well, but they have a higher percentage of kids that can actually walk than we do.
then we do, yeah,
Way higher.
higher percentage.
So is the cost, because I know a lot of kids, like my son in junior high basically didn't ride the bus, just because it was more convenient, and their neighbors, and pretty much everybody that lives within 2 miles, within 20 feet of here. Do we save at some point? You know, we have 65 kids riding the bus, but you know that dwindles down to 50. Is there a savings, like because we don't stop, because the routes are faster? Is there, I mean, we're talking $300,000, but that we're never gonna see that come back.
I don't know if there'd be a quantifiable
Okay.
dollar amount that you could put to that, because we're running the routes anyway.
Just because they don't get on, the routes will be timed and they'll be quicker, but because they don't get on, what if they decide their car breaks down and they're like, hey, I got a bus, I'm gonna be outside. You know, I mean, I think you have to prepare for that.
and the negotiated agreement states that they do their routes at the beginning of the year, and that's what they get paid for the whole year.
So it doesn't, I mean, and that'll be, I mean, in all honesty, they'll get paid for not doing work. Because their bus will be full 65 kids, and they will probably be picking up around half, if that. So the route that should take them an hour is probably gonna take them around 30 minutes, and we'll pay for that full hour, if I'm reading everything right.
I don't know if we're quite that bad, but.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be that drastic, but it
It
will.
might be 10 minutes. Full route.
And is there a way, you're talking about it's gonna increase their time and they might have problems getting to the elementaries. Is there a way that we could have the kids, as soon as the buses, like they used to do when I was a kid, as soon as the buses come, they unload? I mean, can we have them, we can't have somebody in the cafeteria getting paid to watch these kids? Instead of what they do, like at the elementary and the junior highs, they sit for 15, 20 minutes, maybe even longer, with the buses idling before they can even dump the kids off. I just wondering if that would save anything.
Which waste a lot of fuel.
I don't know.
The answer is yes. I mean, we probably could pay, we'd have to probably add some aid staff
Right, right.
to be with
And so
them.
then I'm gonna go back to answering your question, to have an exact number.
Well, I think you can get, you can say, you know,
I can say with two different ways of doing it, it's over $300,000 to do the whole high school. I can say that with certainty. That I can say. I mean, there was two different ways of doing it, based on what Roger's telling me. Based on 7 additional bus runs, double runs. Doing it 2 different ways, it comes up with over $300,000.
And again, I think that's conservative when you think about the fact that a elementary building with approximately the same grade band, we have 6 grades, 7 through 12, 6 grades, maybe 7 with kindergarten, although they're half, obviously, when you do the morning and afternoon runs. We've got 19 buses that go out and come back for elementary. So for him to say he can do it with 13 or 14 seems a bit tight to me. But I mean, when Judy gets back, I definitely will see if we can run a simulation and see what kind of numbers we can get back from that. The program's pretty robust, and I'm pretty certain we can run a simulation that could give us a pretty good estimation of what this might look like with perhaps 9 and 10 and 9 through 12. Now, the other thing that will happen is, certainly not to the same degree, but if you say you're busing 9 and 10, there'll be some 11 that will say, you mean my 10th grader stands out there and gets picked up and my 11th grader doesn't? I mean, you're still gonna have that if you cut it off somewhere.
And I don't know if it's worth $100,000 to provide the service to everybody. You know, that's,
Depends on how many that is.
Yeah.
I'm not certain how big that is now. Is that a vocal minority that wants that? Because they certainly find a way every year, but we need to be sensitive to that.
I just think it's a right, you know, that you go to a public school, you ought to be provided transportation. I just
think it's a service that if we're asking the people for, you know, if we're going back to the levy, I really think that if we provide this service, I think that's a no-brainer for the parents. I mean, I think that's something that we're giving the parents, and it's something that they really want.
And I agree with you, but I also agree if you go to a public school and you play an instrument, you shouldn't have to pay extra to go to band. You probably shouldn't have to pay extra to play for that sports team. Okay, it's a public school. And
Yeah, but look at us in relationship to Medina County. If we're the only school district who can't bus our kids there,
well,
to get them there
we've
for
also-
the education they
we've also,
deserve.
I believe, got the highest pay of play in the county, and not by a little margin either.
I couldn't answer that.
Yeah.
We gotta tackle things.
Yeah, I mean, but that's, we gotta look at things well, but it's, you know, we charge quite a bit, so, compared to other schools.
There's so many things that, to say that if you go to a public school, it should be a right. So should we not charge
This
fees,
would help if I read the time.
student fees? Should we provide instruments for all of the kids?
Well, I
Play?
think,
I mean,
yeah, I think you're taking it too far.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I also, I feel as though it's our responsibility to educate these kids. Yes, it is. I can stretch it to getting them,
Yeah, okay.
okay? If you let me finish, okay? I can stretch that. But our core thing is the education, and I need to be able to protect that. So I'm looking at, right now, we have an issue coming up for renewal of the levy. I think we need to renew the levy,
Absolutely.
okay? That's what I think we need to do. As far as expanding our services beyond that, I'm open to that, but I'm not open to it jeopardizing keeping the education going.
Yeah, but nobody's saying jeopardizing the education.
Well,
not-
that's what I'm saying, yeah, it's a completely separate thing.
Right. I mean, we have
So-
absolutely no problems, we're here to educate our kids, that's not a, that's why we're getting the levy, that's why we're getting the 3 million, or the 3 mil, but we need to provide a service, I think, to the parents that are paying, you know, for everything.
So our initial question is, with this renewal, when do we want to put that on the ballot? Are we thinking, I'm hearing November, and I'm guessing really our only options are whether we put it on in November during the general election, or do we put that off till March? I mean, to me, I think those are the two options that we have, and it sounds to me like I'm hearing November, unless there's disagreement with that.
No, I would agree.
I agree, November.
And we are going to 10.
Going for 10 years. I believe the 10 years is a smart move both for the district to solidify the district financially and to protect that rollback for the citizens. So, do we have a resolution?
We do have a,
Do we want to do a resolution?
We have a
at our
directive.
Next, we'll have a resolution to.
I will
for our
get with
next
the
one.
attorney to write the 2 resolutions we need. And we could do it in May and June if you like. I've been trying to get them by April for the first one.
2 resolutions.
One, telling,
Asking the auditor.
asking the auditor to certify
Alright.
what millage needs to be for a $3.2 million emergency levy. Then the next one is where you say, yes, okay, we're gonna put it on the ballot, and on the ballot language, and I take it to the Board of Elections. And it has to be done prior to, but we have until August.
Yeah.
It's not a rush, but
The first one has to be done, does the first one have to be done in May or June?
No.
June,
July.
July? First one would be in July and then the second one would be in,
August, but we could do it any time before that.
and that would be knowing that we have to sometime be looking at additional knowledge, and it's how fast we would need additional knowledge, right? And that would be for bringing back additional services and the future. Because this being a renewal of an emergency, it doesn't grow any.
Well, we're still going to discuss the busing issue, right, with this? We're not looking for a new levy for the busing, right? Isn't that what we were just talking about 5 minutes ago?
Well, that's where we're disagreeing.
That's what you're disagreeing.
That's where you and I are disagreeing,
Exactly.
okay? And that's where I'm saying I feel as though you'll be jeopardizing our future educational program in this district. If we expand out our services without the knowledge that the money's there.
Well, I think the only thing we're gonna jeopardize is, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, is that, we will have to go to the voters sooner. Instead of, maybe 3 or 4 years, we would have to go, or maybe 4 or 5 years out, we'll have to go within 2 years and explain why we have to come back and get a.
And
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I think you both might be saying the same thing. Step one is to get this renewal passed, and I don't think that's gonna be contingent upon anything. We need to get this renewal passed, and we're not saying, if this passes, we'll do this, if this doesn't pass, we'll do this. At this point, I think what we're saying is we have to do is get this renewal passed. beyond that renewal, then I think we can talk about whatever education might look like, services might look like beyond that, and I think as you're saying, that it could be busing, it could be something else, but we can't consider any of those things until we get this renewal passed. Once that renewal passes, then if we want to talk about other services, I wouldn't necessarily be specific about what those services are, but if there are other educational opportunities or services that we want to talk about, then I think we need to do that once this renewal passes.
Well, if, you know, maybe I'm misunderstanding. My understanding is you're talking about starting in August.
Let John talk now.
Well, a couple things. One, like Barb said, I really want to see more fine-tuned numbers on busing and that. And then we need to make the decision. And I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I'm not sure I agree all the way of how we want to make our one voice clear for this levy and how we want to pass it. I would love to look at busing. I would love to look at pay to play. I would also like to look at bringing back maybe certain classes. Okay, I don't know if we can do all that, but that's going to require some work on your part. But I foresee us needing new money sooner rather than later, just because of, you know, cost of living and everything like that. We need to get this passed first. I don't know whether I want to say to the public that if this passes, we're going to have busing. Do I want busing? Yes, I did. Okay, I don't know whether that should be part of the levy thing, because I think this levy's not going to pass as easy as we might think it is. Okay, because some of the pushback, which will be very loud and vocal, is you just pay for new bleachers. Why the hell do you need this to pay for busing? You're taking that money and pay for busing for what, less than a year. Okay, but you're going to get that pushback, and I'm not 100% sure that this levy's going to pass. I think it's got a good chance, but the busing, I think we need to have it. I think that's a very small, very vocal minority. Okay, and we should provide that service. It is kind of embarrassing we're the only school in the county that does not provide that service. It's also embarrassing, you know, on how high it costs for kids to, you know, play in the band, play sports around here too. You know, when Medina can figure it out, Howland can figure it out, all the other schools can figure it out, we can't, apparently. But I don't know if that should be part of the levy discussion, okay? I do think we should let them know everything's on the table. When we look at this, we're looking at many things. And that's what I'd like to talk to them about. But if we could start busing on this, I'd like it. You know, whether we can or not, I don't know. I don't agree with those numbers at all. Okay, and you know, I just don't. But I need numbers to look at. I need to know what an average bus driver costs with benefits. Okay, and I think
I'll send you the thing the first student uses,
Mm-hmm.
which I just plugged in and used our actual cost from last year,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty close.
With their benefits.
Yes, yes, and there
We
are
could
there
show
are
our
forms.
actual drivers,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what our actual drivers make with benefits. I mean, we certainly can share that
Yeah.
information.
If we get that information, because it's basically meant to me, I'm looking at hours. Okay, so if he routes each one of these buses for 1 hour and he needs 5 extra drivers times 5, that's 25 hours a week at that dollar amount, you know, or let's do it by day and times it 180, and it shouldn't be that hard to give a close projection on what we're doing here. Karen, you gonna smile? You swallowing something or what? You got gas? What's it? What do you
No,
say?
because that's pretty much what I did.
Mhm.
So that's why I want to share what first student, which, I mean, and I'm not saying,
Well, maybe my math's wrong, or maybe the benefits are a lot better than I know, because I just went, you know, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I'm just, and I will send it out to you. I mean, I have no problem with that.
What is that? Is that okay?
It's a, you know, it's what they used, and that's, I used what I put together, and then used what they used, and I came pretty close to the same amount. That's why I'm not saying it's to the penny, no, not at all. But I could just say what the savings was when we eliminated it many years ago. And it was about $500,000.
And here's where I am on this. I want this renewal on the ballot in November, and I want it to pass, of course, as everyone else does. And I don't think that we say the renewal is to continue the services that we have. But as a board, I think we look at how much would it cost us? Make that a priority. How much would it cost us to get some busing in here? And if we can do it, you know? I think, there's trade-offs for everything, but we need to see if we can do it. But as far as the levy goes, you get it on the ballot, you get it passed to continue the services you have. And then you try and fit that in somewhere.
Yeah, that's,
My only concern is that, and this is my question for you guys, is I hear one thing, August of 16 for busing, but this won't be on until November of 16. So are we talking busing August of 17?
Or
That's
we
my
talking
question.
August 16, January 17, August 17? I don't,
I don't know. if we
Yeah,
can
I
do it.
don't know.
I don't know if we can do it in that year. I'm guessing we can.
Yeah,
It's been a few months, really.
Yeah.
so that's,
Yeah, and I have no problem. I think the big thing is to get the levy passed. I think you're gonna have a hard sell if you go back to the people and say, I know we the first levy was a hard sell to get it passed. We finally got it passed, and that was emergency, that was keep all the services we have. If you're going back to the people and you're saying, we want you to, people don't understand, they look at a new levy, they don't understand it's gonna be the same price. I think that busing is a service that we need to provide. And I just wanna look at the numbers, and I don't think we can, in August 16, I think that that's way too soon to try and make the changes, and then you're just pulling from one pot to put in another.
that's my concern.
Yeah.
And that's where I thought you were coming from,
Right.
was going for August the 16th.
No, I would just like to,
And I think that would,
and I think that we're very transparent with these people, and I think we have to explain, basic stuff, what's happening, and this is how much busing's gonna cost. We would like to provide busing. If we provide busing, this is what it's gonna cost. And quite frankly, it's gonna have to come from somewhere else at some point,
and that's where I'm saying it's gonna have to come from
Right,
somewhere else.
right.
Now, there is, and I'm not at all in favor of putting an additional one, have the renewal
Yeah.
and an additional on
Yeah.
the same,
Yeah.
same thing, and I'm totally against it.
Yeah.
But that is a potential.
And we can look at that a couple years down the road, when Carolyn tells us.
It won't be done.
Yes.
It should be
I know
on
that.
Save so much money then.
bring back busing, reduce pay to participate, yeah.
We find out our tin cans, you better go be fine. Next or something.
I guess Dennis is, softball.
I guess they get extra innings, I guess.
So, again, I wanna make sure November, 10-year, if I can get it, will it be the first resolution in April? If I can get it, if not, May
May,
in June.
June, whatever.
I think you can get it.
Just wanna have it soon enough that there's no question, we don't have to do emergency levy. Emergency,
Board
meeting to
meeting,
have.
No.
We don't wanna do that. Any other discussion on that? Old business, and is this something that we want to table for our regular meeting?
Yes.
Is the second reading of the following policies?
Yes, I would ask that we table that until our regular meeting.
We're gonna table until the April board meeting?
And anything else? Board comments?
I sent you a couple of emails, have you had a chance to respond to any of those?
I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but
One on our soccer coach, the other on the junior high dance.
I did send you a response on the dance.
Today?
No,
Later?
no, it was the day of or the day after. I think you had 2 questions in there. Yeah, I responded to those.
I never saw anything.
I can go find it and resend it.
Stuff on the side. Yeah.
I'll find it. Yeah, that was, like I said, the day or day after.
Yeah. It is like that one. Yeah, all right.
I'll find it. I don't remember if that was during the email switch or not, but I'm sure I
You know
had
what?
it
I've got a bunch of stuff in my junk email from you.
there. Might be.
That might be where it's at.
No, you don't have to resolutions.
But you've never been in my junk email before? I mean, usually it's about stuff where I can help someone in a foreign country.
They'll send you money if you give them your bank account.
I've been getting your bank account, I hope that works.
That was your tax list.
That, well, they got them again.
Did they really?
Yep.
So I don't have anything on that in my junk email, but I have some other stuff. So,
I'll resend.
Okay, any other board comments? Just put it on the record, the first student that's being talked about here, the program that you pulled down, Carolyn,
Yes.
is a private company that does, for the people who might watch this, is a private company that does school transportation, and that's where that information came from.
Right, you have to plug in figures, it's a whole formula that they do.
So
I wanted to see how close my figures were to
there's
theirs, so that's why I did it.
Brian, when are bids coming down for stadium, like, at the end of the
Thursday.
month? And you'll, at the board meeting,
Mhm.
have a discussion?
Yep.
Okay.
Thursday at noon.
otherwise, I have my junk email. And I have everything he says, which is something.
Is it a group that went to your junk mail?
Yeah, you guys are copied on everything, but it's his last, but I get some stuff in the box, he's never went to junk mail before.
That's because,
Oh, I wonder if we made a switch to Google. I'm sending things from Google now. I wonder if Google mails, Google Gmail's going to your
spam, or your
junk or spam, I wonder.
How long have you been doing that? Because it
10
doesn't say on the
days.
screen. What's that?
10 days.
Okay.
Is that how long we've been allowed? Probably. You guys need to check your junk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's sort of different.
Are you gonna set us up then for Google
At
too?
some point,
At
yes.
some point.
Yeah, here's
July
my-
1,
here's
that was
my-
one of our emails. July 1, we're gonna make a total switch.
Right,
So we're training everybody, and you guys are on that list to be trained before July 1, so.
okay.
um,
Your update from 318.
Yeah, I sent 3 in the last 2 days probably.
Did you
So
get
if
my
haven't gotten
email
anything
about-
from me in the last 2 days, then.
my email
you
about the
responded
board
to all
meeting?
that. Yes.
I got him
I got an email from you about the board meeting.
Okay.
But I'm here.
It was the time.
You did,
Oh, yeah, I
It's back
did.
in
you did, you responded
5
twice,
and 6.
yes. And Dennis responded,
Yes, you got
Coffee's
something you
cool.
sent at 3:30 today about gifted students, that's in my junk email. Liberty Plaza, junk email. Yesterday you sent 2 updates, that's in my junk email. Current navigation, bus driver, which I wanted to ask you about as well, so I remember anything. And the one on Monday, junk. The one from 2 weeks ago on junk. But nothing to respond.
Okay. All right. Entertain a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Roll call?
Elkelman,
Yes.
Maselich,
Yes.
Stahl,
Yes.
Barco,
Yes.